I'm Ehsan Kazaruni, and I was born in Australia. Yes, the land of Opera Sydney House, koalas, kangaroos, and wavy beaches. But I barely remember any of these things. When I was only 2 years old, my family moved back to Iran. So I didn't grow up in a land surfing or cuddling marsupials. Instead, I grew up in a place which identity feels like a complex mosaic, layered with history, tradition, and occasional crisis. As I grew up, two pivotal identity crises pushed me to question everything I thought knew about life. The first one happened when I was around 10. During the days I was the member of school handball team. Back then, I thought if I could achieve one of my most important goals in life, winning the regional championship, that would be a life-altering moment. On an epic day, from morning to night, after winning 8 matches in a row, finally we held that trophy and celebrated with our family. Finally, I was able to feel the sense of being successful, being the best. The next morning, when I woke up, that sense of success that I've expected was fleeting. I shocked. That was the first crack into my beliefs. The beliefs that taught me to be the best, to be successful. Next crisis came 6 years later, when I found myself among the best of students in the school, receiving praise from family, students, and teachers alike. Despite all of those recognition, still something felt missing. I began to wonder, are the all identities that defined for us from the past still valuable? This question was the first step for me to discovering myself, to start the journey. I realized that those values and identities that I've encouraged to follow didn't carry the significance once I believed. I thought there had to be more to these values, to these identities, rather than these prescribed paths. All of these realizations led me to explore and study in new fields, in new areas, new fields, philosophy, mysticism, science, anything that could help me to uncover the truth of who we are. I realized that identity isn't some neatly wrapped package that you get at your birth. It's messy, ever-changing, and constantly shaped by the people we meet, by the experiences we gather, and most importantly, by the culture we bump into. Alongside this intellectual journey, another passion had been forming since childhood. In the early years of school, when I realized that I had to stay there, sitting behind those desks and competing for the title of being the best for 12 years, instead of running outside, discovering myself and the universe around me. Naturally, I create some way to escape mentally. I start to draw patterns and forms on my books and notebooks. Over the years, these doodles evolved to more elaborate shapes, and I found myself drawn into more architectural and structural forms. By the age of 18, my interest in architecture had merged with my exploration into identities, and I decided to pursue architecture and graphic design as a means of both exploring myself and the world around me. As I immersed myself in this field, I felt an urge to dive deeper into the culture and history that has shaped us, the culture surrounding us, and everything our ancestors did, for better or worse, has shaped and continues to shape our communities, our societies, and ourselves. After nearly a decade wrestling with all of these influences, I set out to create something that could represent all of my thoughts and my exploration. That's when my first art collection was born, Excerpts from the Past. These creatures, as you can see, they are from the past. They're inspired by the culture, by the history, but they are not exactly them. They changed, they evolved, they transformed, just like as we do. They are not just a fancy blend of old and new. They are an attempt to capture the duality of modernity and tradition, to straddle the line of the past and present, embodying the dynamic interplay of the history and future that define us, to push the concept of showing the creature that influenced and inspired by the surrounding, by the culture, by the history. I used the photographies of George Steinmetz, who tried to capture our most primary need, which connected all of us, all around the world, in all generations, the food. By using his pictures, by merging his pictures with ancient architectural forms. I created beings that embody both old customs and fresh ideas. Each piece of these pictures made of the culture that ancestors made for us, and by each moment that we are living. Each moment that we lived, whether painful or joyful, whether they felt trivial or monumental, they add a piece to the mosaic of who we are, to these creatures. Even those scattered, seemingly meaningless pieces contribute to something bigger, forming a complete and meaningful shape over the years. In the same way, still those ancient ideas, those patterns, those forms, those ideas are still living among us, though they take on a new shape or new meaning. They act as an invisible thread. They're guiding us and they're shaping of who we are. These creatures, to evolve the creature that we made for us, we should make a room inside us for a change. We couldn't cling to these creatures, to these identities. They are temporary by design. They are only one moment of capturing their transformation. If we start to hold them too tightly, to hold these identities too tightly, that's when we start to harm ourselves and others, and they stop being a tool for expression, and they become a cage. And surprisingly, it's not just by individuals. Even entire society, community, country could cling to one idea, to one picture, and repeat it over and over, even at the cost of the war and human lives. It could be anything. You could find it everywhere. Political ideology, language, or religion. That's when I create my second collection, The Mask. In this collection, I try to show what would happen if those identities, instead of being fluid, instead of being evolving, could turn into the cages we carry on our face. Whether we put them there by ourselves or had them forced on us by society or government. I think it's crucial to recognize these masks, to let them go and change. Then we could open ourselves to new insights and fresh possibilities. We have to try to change these creatures. We shouldn't have to cling to them. And we have to try to make new pictures, new insights, and new features inside us. After all, I think the real growth comes from surrender, not in a sense of giving up, but by letting go of controlling who we think we are and which things define us. By stop resisting life, we could open ourselves to new possibilities, new creatures to come up and grow. But here's the catch. Let's be honest. Surrender isn't exactly easy. These masks that we wear on our face, they define who we think we are. And the idea of taking them off could be terrifying. Yet, if we grip them too tightly, we stop growing. I think the only way forward is to recognizing these masks, gently remove them, and make a space inside us for the new creatures and identities to grow. Personally, I'm still trying to recognize my own masks, to let them go, to let them change. Still, it's so hard. After all of these realizations, having all of these conflicts thoughts, I figured out that I couldn't remain neutral to all of these facts. I have to do at least something symbolic to challenge or change one of those rigid identities in my own culture. Influenced by one of my mentors, Muhammad Furuzanfar, I turned into those ancient buildings that historically used to limit other roles and power. When one identity remained rigid, it started to set boundaries for other values and disrupting their connection. This was the first foundation to create the last and third art collection, Synchronization. In this collection, I tried to choose those buildings that used to limit women's roles and infuse them with feminine power, thanks to some stunning pictures by Brad Walls, who captured those moments and those sides very well. I've imagined those ancient buildings as a vibrant space for women, for other roles, to gather around, to dance and splash. In a sense, this project is about transformation. What would happen if we change those rigid ideas into dynamic space that could invite all the voices inside us, those conflict thoughts, those conflict identities that we have, invite all of those and let them to evolve, to change, splash and dance. As I mentioned before, identity isn't a gift with the bow that we get at birth. It's messy, ever-changing and constantly shaped. It's more like a mosaic that takes a shape piece by piece. Our personalities, crafted through the people we meet, the culture we encounter, and the challenges we bravely face. Identity is a journey, not a static destination or prescribed path by our ancestors, culture, or history. This ongoing journey allows us to keep evolving, remain open to new possibilities, and pay homage to both our roots and our aspirations. Each of us is unique, with the power of changing ourselves, changing our present moment to create a brighter future for the next generation. My story, my journey into exploring my identity has unfolded as I shared with you. I would like to ask each of you, what is your own journey in exploring your identities and the mask you wear? Thank you.